Well, sir, I'm doing well. As I look at my iPhone at the moment here in North Jersey, 87 degrees and humid. I took a run this afternoon. I felt like I was going through sludge in the dog day. So I can't relate much to the fact that you came home from LA with a foot of snow back in your place. God bless you.
It's melting on the top of my car in the garage. Right? I mean, that's how much snow was piled in when I got off the plane. As I mentioned, I'm coming back from LA where I saw Shohei Ohtani pitch on Wednesday night, and my perspective on him as a pitcher completely, it didn't completely change. I knew he's talented. I knew he had a lot of weapons, but Hembo, that was impressive.
I mean, it's as impressive a thing as you could ever imagine. I mean, it's the kind of thing where on one hand, you're stunned, and on the other hand, you're not surprised because he's him. And Buster, I wanted to refresh my memory because there was a time at which if you had said Shohei Ohtani is going to be the best pitcher in his league, that would have been likelier than you saying that Shohei Ohtani was going to be the best hitter in his league. And that's because I went back to a December 2017 piece on ESPN.com that you wrote in which you detailed some sort of scouting skepticism that Shohei Ohtani could be an everyday big leaguer from the perspective of his bat because there was so much swing and miss.
Yeah, Hembo, I remember writing that. You know, at that time, there was a lot of skepticism among scouts whether or not that he was going to be able to hit enough to be a two-way player. They didn't have that many doubts about him as a pitcher, but as a hitter, absolutely yes. We heard Albert Pujols last week on the podcast talking about the adjustments that Ohtani makes, and he's still making adjustments as a pitcher.
Goodness, that's so wild to consider, especially knowing now what we know now, Buster. If you go back to 2018, his first year in the major leagues, and you said a 100 start minimum on the mound, among 123 pitchers, he ranks second in ERA plus at 146 behind only Jacob deGrom. Over that same time frame, it's the fourth best batting line as a hitter behind Aaron Judge and Mike Trout and Yordan Alvarez. It's an OPS plus of 160. It was Bill James, Buster, who once quite famously said of Ricky Henderson, if you could split him in two, you'd have two Hall of Famers. In the case of Shohei Ohtani, it does actually apply. It actually is a Hall of Fame bat. It actually is a Hall of Fame arm. And even though it's only 546 innings for his career to date, which is less than half of what Babe Ruth produced, on a pitch-for-pitch basis and inning-for-inning basis, he is far and away a better pitcher than Babe Ruth was, albeit aside from really the 1918 season. And as you well know, what really sets Ohtani apart from the Babe is the fact that Babe Ruth never did this concurrently. It was Babe Ruth who more than a century ago said, no, this is actually impossible. Well, as it turns out, it really was until Shohei Ohtani came along, who's doing things on a daily basis, on an every fifth day basis, that makes us question everything that we ever knew about this great game. I walked away from his start on Jackie Robinson Day saying, this guy might well be the front runner for the National League Cy Young Award, which of course is something that we thought about a couple of months ago as being basically impossible.
Basically impossible because of the lack of volume. Yeah, Joe Buck last night during the broadcast made the point that you did as well about Babe Ruth, and it's not close. That's why when we had Chris Risser on last week and he was saying Babe Ruth's better, and I'm like, look, I get it. Babe Ruth was incredibly important to the sport for what he did at the time that he did it, but in terms of what they're doing right now, it's not close. It's just not close. What stood out to me being, my position was right next to the field. I'm next to the Dodger dugout. Talking to some members of the coaching staff, in between innings, that sort of thing. That's how close I get to be. And what stood out to me during that game was, and we knew he was a great athlete, but to watch the way that he was varying his delivery and changing the pace of it and messing with the heads of hitters like Francisco Lindor. He had that play where the ball's hit back to the mound and he outruns the guy to first base. And he's doing, and the ability to maintain, and we talked about this before, the command of all of these different pitches to the point he's going 72 curveball, 100 mile per hour fastball. That's nuts.
It's completely absurd, Buster. It's the kind of thing that you don't see from literally any starting pitcher, let alone one with a 160 career OPS plus, whom I firmly believe if they decided he wanted to be a Gold Glove right fielder or Gold Glove first baseman, he could do it because he has the kind of coordination, the kind of aptitude, and some of the best athletic ability in the way that he moves his body, as well as the game has ever known. I mean, the level of athleticism required to do any one of these things is off the charts. No one has ever done all of them, and no one ever will do all of them. All I like to do is sit here back and enjoy it, of course, because we'll never see it again. Of that, I'm certain.
I tell you this, like you put him at first base, he would be phenomenal. And I'll one up that, and I'll say You put him at third base, like the Yankees did with Don Mattingly, right? Back in the 1980, he would be phenomenal. I don't doubt that he could do anything he set his mind to. That's for sure. All right, on the field, Shohei Ohtani. Good Lord.
Yeah,
I mean, that was unbelievable last night. You know, for the first time this year, he's not serving as DH. Dave Roberts telling us that, you know, because he was hitting the scapula, they didn't want to worry about managing him physically and just go and pitch. And he talked to Ohtani about that during the game on Monday, and Ohtani's kind of like, yeah, sure. Yeah, that sounds good. And he was phenomenal. High-end fastball at 100 miles an hour, low-end breaking ball at 72. So 28 miles per hour and variance. And on top of that, and this was the fun part, he also was varying his delivery like he was playing backyard wiffle ball with a sibling. And he had his long extended about, 11, 12 pitches with Francisco Lindor.
With Lindor, yeah.
And it wraps up with him basically doing a slide step at the end and changing his delivery. And Lindor kind of feebly waves at it as it goes by. And then he just looks at Ohtani and just has the biggest grin. Like, are you kidding me? He was amazing.
Yeah, and it's fun to see him at this stage now, fully recovered from that second UCL repair, where like it's very clear that he's got command now of so many pitches that he didn't have before last year, particularly the breaking balls. And from start to start, it's fun to see which pitch is he going to feature, because he's got 6 or 7 pitches that he could command on any given day. And a lot of times he'll steer away from the game plan because of how he's feeling about a particular pitch. And last night, he rode his fastball more than he had all year. And it was really fun to watch because first time through the order, he was heavy fastball with all these guys. And then second time through, you see him incorporating the splitter, incorporating the sweeper, the curveball, starts mixing up speeds. He only needed the fastball to get to the lineup the first time. And then the fun part too was MJ Melendez hits that ground rule double. It's the first earned run charged to Shohei Ohtani this year. And clearly he got mad because his 4 fastest pitches came right after that. 4 fastballs, all exceeding 100 miles an hour to retire Tommy Pham and Francisco Lindor. And look, we've talked about this. This has been a theme for the last few weeks. Shohei Ohtani wants to win a Cy Young Award. No Japanese-born pitcher has ever won a Cy Young Award. Somebody else wants to win a Cy Young Award too, and his name is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And I talked to Dave Roberts about this last night. I talked to Mark Pryor about this at spring training, about how those two guys are going to push each other this year. And you've seen this play out, Buster, a lot within rotations, the competition that takes place.
Yeah, Randy Johnson,
pitchers.
Kurt Schilling, Pedro Martinez, Kurt Schilling, et cetera. You know, find any combinations like that. No question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's going to be a theme for them this year, seeing how each of them could one-up each other.
And the Dodgers, good Lord. I mean, they are so good. I actually had someone in baseball say to me the other day, you know, I think they'll get bored and they won't win a record number of games in the regular season. And I understood this person's perspective, but I'm also like, yeah, but they're so great. And I think they're driven, every day the energy is driven by the starting pitcher, who inevitably or, invariably seems to be a really good starting pitcher. They have Blake Snell coming back. Last night, Shohei Ohtani's not the DH for the first time. Dalton Rushing goes in and drops a grand slam.
But Buster, the Dodgers are leading baseball in almost every major offensive category. They're doing that with Mookie Betts nursing an oblique injury. Kyle Tucker getting off to a really bad start. Shohei Ohtani hasn't gotten going until just very recently. Freddie Freeman's numbers aren't quite there, and yet they're doing this. Their 7, 8, 9 hitters have combined for 935 OPS. That's basically that's Juan Soto level OPS, okay?
From the bottom third of your lineup.
The bottom third of their lineup. And Andy Pajes has been swinging it well all year, but one night it'll be Dalton Rushing, or it'll be Alex Freeland, or it'll be Hai-Sung Kim. And that's the thing about the Dodgers. That's what's scary about them. It's not just their stars. They have a lot of stars. It's their depth. That's what's scary. That's why they dominate regular seasons.